hit it. Microphone check. Baby, 1, 2, 3, 4.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls.
You are now rocking with the best.
It's not some
Baby. One time.
still shining.
Respect my swag.
It don't mean a thing if it ain't got that swing.
And this is
Another episode.
a Swingers.
After dark. What time is it? It's time to get live.
And this is your host. Not some, baby.
Let's go, champ.
Microphone check 1 2 1 2, and this is your host, not son, baby. And this is another episode of Swingers After Dark, and I'm with the unicorn. She shall remain nameless. You know, she. I don't think she wants me to say her name. You want me to say your name or you? Okay with me. Michaela. I'm gonna use that one, Michaela. She said, I wasn't gonna blow up her spot. But she insisted. So. Yes, so I usually tell my guests if they want to be anonymous. You know, it's like how you have a burner account and you do shit anonymously. So, but she doesn't want to have a burner account. She wants the real thing. But yeah, so why do you have this death of the unicorn mentality? This episode is about newbies. You know, how a newbie may transition to become a vet. But this is a newbie. Wait, first and foremost, how did you find out about the lifestyle? Because you seem like so wholesome, you know, this good girl. You know, how did you find out who replaced your halo with horns?
I still have the halo. It's still there. I'm always going to be a good girl. I just have a broad spectrum about me, so to speak. But I've always been lifestyle, so to speak. I started doing lifestyle activities right out of college. So that was like the late 90s, early part of 2000s. I just started doing this part of the lifestyle in terms of hotel takeovers.
She's showing her age. Anyway, keep going.
I'm okay with that. I earned my stripes.
Okay. Ow.
I just started attending hotel takeovers in this part of the lifestyle about 2 years ago. So that's the newbie part of it for me.
So what is a hotel takeover?
When hosts literally take over a hotel, whatever size the hotel is, they take over the entire hotel with lifestylers, whether it be swingers, BDSM, whatever is under the umbrella of lifestyle. We take over the whole hotel and just enjoy ourselves for either 2 days or 3 days, whichever the hosts choose.
So what do you mean when you say that? What do you mean when you say that you did lifestyle related activities after college? Is there like Freak Fest, you know? And tell people the difference between Freak Fest and orgies in comparison to lifestyle parties. Because me personally, I look at it like a pickup game. Anybody could grab a basketball and shoot a hoop, but everybody can't make it to the pros. They don't have the skills or the mindset, the drive and the ambition to make it to the pros. So tell the people what's the difference between a fuck party and a swing party.
In terms of there's people in the world who are just freaky people. They just like to fuck, just like to have sex. And that's fine. That's wonderful. In terms of being a lifestyler, it's more of a mindset. It's literally a lifestyle, a way of life. It's how you live, how you think, how you present yourself, whether it be anonymously, whether it be discreetly, or if you just live your life out in the open, but it is a part of you and you are a part of it. That's how I view it. That's how majority, I would say, of people who are lifestylers view it. It's your way of life. For me, and I didn't go to Freak Fest or things like that. I started just going to Hito and being around swingers of the time. Like I said, I dated myself, which is fine with me. Like I said, I earned my stripes. I'm 45 and proud of it. So I started going right out of college and I realized those were my people.
So how did you find out about Hedonism 2 and the Grill Jamaica? Hedonism 2, ladies and gentlemen, is a nude resort in the Grill Jamaica.
Yes, I actually started going when there was Hedonism 3. That's how long ago I started going. I started at 3 and in Runaway Bay, which is no longer there. But I recently went, and then I transitioned into going to both.
I think Hedonism 2 is like Hedonism 3 is like a kid resort now. Anyway, keep going. Yeah, the irony.
It's a family resort now. I'm going to take my child there one day and just tell her mama used to.
Remember that.
Right. But I went there, and it was actually a couple of my girlfriends and I, we went there kind of on a dare. Some people from our neighborhood just was like, hey, we're going to this resort. We heard about it. I think they saw it on HBO's Real Sex. I don't know. I used to sneak and watch it back in the day.
You saying Hedonism 3 was on HBO Real Sex?
I think it was two. One of them was on Real
Okay.
Sex, and that's how we kind of found out about it. And we just was like, oh, let's go see what this resort is about. Kind of dared each other to go and see what we could do. And we went, and I ended up loving it. And we kept going back year after year. And I just realized those are my people. That's how you know it's a lifestyle thing. When you feel a connection there, you feel it's a part of you. And I just been going ever since.
So what was it about people at Hedonism 2 that, you know, that resonated within you? What was about them that resonated within you to go further into the lifestyle, the swing lifestyle?
Comfortability. I felt comfortable. I felt secure. I felt confident in myself. I've always been a plus size person, and I went to the resort and I felt I could be myself no matter what, around anybody, around people of color, around Caucasian people. I just felt I could be myself. I could take off my clothes, walk around naked, and literally sit at the bar, butt ass naked, and have a conversation and just be myself.
So how long have you been a unicorn?
I don't consider it, and that's
Wait, first and foremost, what is a unicorn? Break down what is unicorn.
the definition. I consider a unicorn are women who are bisexual, who are interested in couples, in dating couples, and being a part of a relationship with a couple. Now, you said earlier the death of the unicorn. I don't consider myself a unicorn. I'm a single woman in the lifestyle. I am heteroflexible.
What is heteroflexible?
I'll give you that. For me, heteroflexible is I am interested in both men and women. However, I lean more towards the heterosexual side, where I usually only have relationships or full relationships with men. But I love women. I think they're beautiful, and I will play with women, but that's not where I spend most of my time or would consider myself committed in a relationship with a woman.
So you broke down the definition of a unicorn, right? But my definition, I always thought that a unicorn was like, well, nowadays every chick is bisexual. So I think a true unicorn is a single woman who's straight. What do you think about that?
Right. Now that, because unicorns are mythical creatures that are hard to find, so that they say.
Yeah,
so
back in the day, finding a bisexual woman is like a needle in a haystack. Now it's like a dime a dozen.
Exactly. I think the definition is starting to flip itself on its head. So that might be the new definition of unicorn, hence the death of the unicorn and now the rebirth. Possibly. Maybe we've come up with something new.
So you went to Hedonism too. So how did you transition from a resort to hotel takeovers? Wait, was there a gap between the resort and a hotel takeover? What was in between?
Life.
Okay, so if it went from a resort to a hotel takeovers.
It's kind of gradually grown. We went several years to Hedo 3, and then there was a gap. Like I said, real life happened, grew up, family, children, but it's always been a part of my life. I actually had small parties at my house, where we would get together and have swaps. We would just be freaky as we were younger. Then took a break for a while, and as I grew up, I was in a relationship with my partner then. He and his ex-wife used to be swingers in New York, New Jersey area at a club called the Trapeze back then. And he told me about it, and I said, oh, well, I think I could do something like that, as opposed to just going to Hedo and being around swingers and being in a nudist atmosphere. I wanted to see what that was like. So he took me to a small, not quite hotel takeover, but you know how they just do like one or two floors in a hotel? And we went there. And I was like, this is exciting for me. And this was maybe 3 years ago, 3 or 4 years ago. And I was like, okay, so the transition from going to the resort to going to small hotel events, I would say, because that's not quite a takeover. And then the following year, I ended up, I had moved to North Carolina by then, and I met a group of people, and they hosted sexy lifestyle specialists, and they would host erotic poetry and then have private events at their home. And there were swaps there, and it moved more into kink and fetish. And it just opened up the lifestyle umbrella for me to say, okay, now we have swingers, now we have nudist resorts, swinger resorts, and now we have the kink and fetish aspect of it. And all this is, again, it's a learning process, an educational process where I'm saying, okay, I'm adding all of this to my repertoire of things that I like and pleasures that I enjoy. And it's just building my lifestyle experience of saying, okay, this is a part of my culture now. This is a part of me and who I am, and saying more so growing into a lifestyler and saying, this is who I am.
So, what attracted you to the real world segment, to the hedonism 3 segment, or whether it was 2 or 3, whatever, and the real world? What made you gravitate towards that? Because at first I thought swingers were freaking weirdos. I thought I was like Eyes Wide Shut. My first idea of swinging was Eyes Wide Shut. And actually, it was in the autobiography of Malcolm X, how he talked about like wife swapping in the suburbs. So I didn't even think it was an urban thing. You know what I'm saying? So was it always in you to be attracted to something like swinging?
I think it was always in me to be attracted to sex. I've always been a sexual creature as far back as I can remember, even though ironically, I didn't start having sex until I was out of high school and in college. But it's always been in my mind and in my body. I started masturbating when I was young, in high school, even actually in elementary school. It was something I always knew I was a sexual creature. So it just kept growing and blossoming over time. And as I educated myself and, would watch TV and watch different things and speak to different people and learn that it wasn't something to be ashamed of, because I was very undercover with it and was like, no, good girls don't do that. That's how I was raised. As you see, I have the good girl persona on the outside, but, leave me alone long enough. You never know. So I've grown to be accepting of it and explore it and just keep learning and growing.
So how did you embrace the polyamorous part of the lifestyle?
That has been the newest addition to my collection of lifestyle things. That actually happened with a partner of mine. He was polyamorous, and asked me to be, as we started dating, and he asked me to be his official girlfriend, but he was like, oh, but there's a catch. I'm polyamorous. I said, I'm sorry, what's that? And me being the nerd that I am, which I'm okay with that, I did my research before I said yes to him. And researching polyamory, which is literally translated into many loves, meaning that you, as a polyamorous person, you allow yourself to show love and be in committed relationships with more than one person. It's not just, I'm just a swinger and I can fuck anybody I want to fuck. It's now I can commit myself to more than one person. And that's how he was. And I said, I think I can do that. I think I can be okay with you loving more than one person, given our dynamic of where we lived and given the fact that I also loved someone else, but wanted to still be in a relationship with him because I was falling in love with him. So our hearts are geared to be, you can love more than one person. You love more than one child. You love both your parents. So why is it that much of a stretch to say that I can't have more than one lover? And literally love them and literally have a relationship with them and literally care for them. So I was accepting of that. I was accepting of that, of him as a person. And then I said, well, I can translate to me as a person because I do that already. It's just, if you're vanilla or whatever, you're just like, oh, I'm not going to commit to them. I'm just going to date all these people. But I really did care for all the people I was dating. And now I have a name for it. It's called polyamory.
So what do you say when people say, oh, how can you share your man? That a third. And what would you say to that?
I have said the same thing I just said to you. If you can share yourself and you can share love for more than one child, why can't you love more than one spouse or more than one partner? Love is love. And there's no limit or no cap on love for people. Now, time is something that is a cap on it. Time is not unlimited, but your love is never unlimited. I mean, your love is never limited. So as much as you allow yourself to love, that's what you can do. And so truly amory, the word amory is based in love. So you can have as many loves as you allow yourself to. But the key to that is recognizing what your other resources are in terms of time, in terms of finances, in terms of space and ability. That is where the juggle comes in.
So what clicked in your mind that made you say, I could accept polyamory? Because being a swinger and being polyamorous are two different things.
They are two different things. They're related. They can coexist. If you do it right, they can definitely coexist. But they're two completely different things.
So tell the people the difference between swinging and polyamory.
Polyamory is, like I just said, when you have committed relationships, love relationships with more than one person. Swinging is when you have sexual relations with more than one person and you leave it at that. You can go to a swinger party, you swap partners, you have just sexual relationships, and then you go home. And that's the end of it. You can form bonds and form friendships, but they're not committed, necessary love relationships.
Because people confuse the two. You know, they think that polyamory is all about sex and having multiple sex partners. But I think that that's the perverted version of polyamory, because it seems like people are just being polyamorous just to have a reason to fuck multiple people instead of building a network, a tribe of people.
And that's not what it is. Polyamory is the actual love relationship. It's the actual commitment. And with everyone involved being aware of the situation, because otherwise you're just cheating. So that's polyfuckery. That's completely different. That is not polyamory. It's everyone is aware of the situation. Like, you know, my partner said to me, you know, this is my lifestyle. This is what I choose. I am polyamorous. He said up front, this is what I do. This is who I am. And I had to accept it. He made me aware. And if you go into that relationship, if you already have other partners, you have to make them aware that you are bringing someone else into the dynamic. Whether you have one other partner or two, everyone has to be on the same page or it's not going to work.
So has there ever been a time where you didn't get along with the other women in a poly?
For me, it depends. Personally, I've accepted all my partners' other partners. In a polyamorous relationship, you choose how you want your dynamic to work. And there's several different dynamics. You have to fit what works for whoever's involved.
Ladies and gentlemen, a polydynamic means like a poly arrangement. You may have couples who engage in orgies together, and you have couples that, you know, they date separately, but they know each other though. Like the couples, you may have a dude or even a chick who's dating multiple dudes. The dudes know, but they don't want anything to do with each other. They don't want anything sexually they don't want to be around each other, but they just know that they're in a dynamic and a relationship with the same woman. Anyway, keep going.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You can have, there are multiple ways to do polyamory. And like I said, it has to fit for those involved, depending on your locations. You can have, long distance relationships, or you can have a kitchen table poly where everybody lives in the same household. I have a very, very good friends of mine who are kitchen table poly where there's a husband and two wives, and they all live together. They have blended their families. They've blended the children. And it's a beautiful relationship, and I admire their family, and I love their family. I look at them, and it's beautiful, and that's how their poly works. I've also seen parallel polys where there are, 3 different relationships going on at the same time.
And that's parallel poly.
I mean, literally, they run like train tracks. They run parallel to each other where no one ever intermixes. You know who everyone is, but you don't have to be involved with each other. So there's several. You have to do what fits for your people involved.
So, like in certain polys, they may say, well, only the main chick, not to tell your business, but only the main chick gets to have raw sex with the dude. So what do you think about the arrangement where, okay, all the other women in a poly, he has to wear a condom for them, for the third, fourth, fifth, whatever the case may be, but with the main woman, he could bust in me all night. That's what the main woman's gonna say. So what do you think about that dynamic?
If that's
or do you think that's let me back up. Do you think that's more common that, okay, he could have raw sex with the main squeeze, but not with everybody else?
Do I think it's common? I I honestly don't know if it's common.
Well, from your peripheral, what do you see?
From my perspective, I honestly don't. I've never seen that perspective of in hierarchical relationships like you're talking about. Hierarchical means that there's rating, so to speak, on the partners involved. So if you have one man and three women, each woman has a ranking, either based on location or based on length of time in the relationship. So you have the primary, the secondary, and tertiary. And so maybe he chooses, if he's married officially to the primary primary woman, and then there's the secondary girlfriend and the third tertiary girlfriend, and he's only allowed to have unprotected sex with the primary as his wife, and then the two girlfriends he's not allowed. That's their dynamic and that's their choice. Some relationships where they have unprotected sex with all girlfriends, that's their choice. If everyone stays tested, then that's fine.
Listen. I be seeing pornos. I always had a fantasy where I have a row of 3 fat asses, and I'm just sticking my dick in one of each. She get 5 minutes, the middle chick get 5 minutes, and then the chick all the way at the end get 5 minutes. Then I just go back and forth, and then I'll come in all of them. It's like, okay, she get like a certain amount of squirt, she get a certain amount of squirt, and then she get a certain amount of squirt.
Put it on a timer.
Yes. I want them stacked or in a row or lined up. So I'm fucking them all raw. That's raw diggity dog. All of them.
Well,
That's a fantasy.
As a family and get tested, and I think that if you have that fantasy, make it happen.
And the thing about a lot of dudes think that though, they think that poly having multiples, but they don't want to put in the work. It's
definitely work. It is definitely, you definitely have to put in work. It's a relationship. A monogamous relationship is work. Mm-hmm. Not that it's not pleasant work, because hopefully you are in a relationship with someone you want to be in a relationship with. There's someone that you care about, that you love, something attracted you to them in the first place. So now you have 2 other partners or 3 or however many. So each one requires their own time, their own attention, whether you live in the same household or not. So you have to put in that same time and effort with each relationship. Each one's going to require something different. Each one likes something different. What I may like going to the opera. Your other person may like going to baseball games. So you have to, know what that is, and put in the effort and the time. And you have to know, as the person involved, if I'm the primary person, let's say, and I have 2 other boyfriends, I have to know what each of them likes, but I have to be able to commit to each of them. I have to be able to give them equal time and equal attention. And at the point where I feel like I can't do that, then I can't take that on. So, because it's not fair. And so I'll be polysaturated and say, okay, I can't take anyone else on.
So are there children involved in the poly relationship, in your poly?
I have a small child. So I do not bring my child into my poly relationship. I did not bring my child involved, but I do have one.
So would you raise your child to be polyamorous?
I don't see a problem with it. Wait,
is your child, is she or he?
I have a daughter.
Or nowadays there. But anyway, so
mine is definitely a she still. As she grows up, she can make her own decisions. But as of now, she's a she. I had a daughter.
Okay, so
she's young.
So when would you tell her about polyamory instead of her finding out accidentally or somebody's telling her about it? When you think it's appropriate for you to have a sit down and say, honey, this is mama and this is what mama do?
We don't give kids enough credit. They're intelligent creatures. My daughter's only 8. So I don't think she's old enough to comprehend the whole concept. I don't, as a single person, I did not, don't introduce her to every boyfriend I meet. That's just crazy, So once it's a long-term, ongoing relationship, and that in any person who's going to be in my life, any person or people who are going to be in my life for a significant time, then yes, they become involved. And I would educate her on the situation. I'm a sex positive parent. So I do explain to her at her level what she needs to know about her body, about bodies in general, about the human form. But so I would take the same approach, explain to her what love is and what love relationships are, and that it is possible to love more than one person. And that's what love is. I explained to her about loving her friends. She has friends of multi-ethnicities. So in that same vein, I would just have to sit her down and explain, this is who mommy loves.
So what does your family think about it?
I'm sorry?
What does your family think about you being a poly?
My family has always been a supportive family. They were the cheerleaders of everything that I've done. And they have been no different in this situation. They've just always been at the forefront of everything. So they've just always been like, girl, do you. As long as you're happy, I'm happy. So with everything I do.
So what do you see? Cause what kills me is when people say I'm retired from the lifestyle, but the lifestyle is who you are. So where do you see your quest in the lifestyle headed? Whether it's swinging or poly or even both?
I don't see it into it. Like, it's not like I don't.
I mean, you're not supposed to see it.
I don't see.
But some people, but some people be like, I retired from the lifestyle. I'm like, what the hell is you be seeing them posts, right?
Yeah, I think we had this discussion on Facebook. Like, how do you retire from the lifestyle if it's a part of you? If it's not really a part of you, then that's fine. Then you can leave it at any time. For something that you're not a part of it, you divorce yourself from it or whatever, or if it's become overwhelming. If there was a question that I did see that said, when do you think it's time to leave the lifestyle? I said, you don't leave the lifestyle. You may leave certain aspects of it.
You may stop going to parties.
Right. You may stop going to parties. You may stop swinging per se. If, your body is no longer healthy to do that, then fine. Yes, you can leave certain aspects of it. But because it's a mentality, because it is a way of life, I would say that you would just have to work yourself around it. I would, work myself around. I've made connections. I've made friends. I've made bonds. Those things you just keep with you. Again, the physical, as you get older, sometimes your body just can't do certain things. So there may be some things I may have to step back from in certain aspects of the lifestyle. But if you are truly a lifestyler, it stays with you.
Because I'm not going to party for the rest of my life. I'm not going to be the old motherfucker partying, going to swing parties. But I will continue to write and podcast and I will go to conventions and meet and greets and stuff like that and be the old sage. You know what I'm saying? So I would do that.
The knowledge. You turn into the guru that passes on your knowledge through your podcast and your books. So that may be how you transition in a lifestyle. There's different phases of it that you can, do. But again, if it's at your heart, if it's in your core, you never really leave it. You just transition into different aspects of it and you find out where you fit in at that point in your life.
So how do you vet your poly partner? Is it the same thing like a monogamous partner plus you asking certain questions about, okay, so who get most of your time? Are we going to get equal time? And who goes to where? Who does what? So how do you vet your mate in a polyamorous relationship?
In terms of how you meet, the partners that I have now, we've met. I have two partners that we've known each other, over 10 years. And everything is through communication. We talk. And if I choose to bring someone new into my dynamic, we have the discussion. In terms of vetting them, it's again about communication. We talk and we have the conversation. Over the years, like I said, the one partner, he's always been lifestyle because he and his ex-wife were that way. But it's just a matter of talking and saying, this is what I like, this is what I don't like, and finding that middle ground, just as you would in a monogamous relationship. However, you do ask those questions if you are going to coexist, if you want to bring your partners together. How do they feel about that? Are you, I would ask the question, are you comfortable knowing who my other partners are? Are you comfortable being around them? If not, how do we choose to operate? I live in a certain region. One of my partners lives further away. So it's not convenient for us to all be together. So we have to have a separation just because of locale.
So what do you tell people when people ask you, how do I find a poly? Where do I go seek it? Where do I find a poly? I want to get into poly, but I don't know how to get in one. What do you say to them?
Educate yourself first before you just go jumping into a poly relationship. Some people think that they're poly and they're really not. It's not for the weak at heart. You know, they think, oh, I just want to have multiple partners, like you said, just because they want to have threesomes all the time or whatever. That's not what poly is. Poly is not just having multiple threesomes all the time. My poly partners, none of them have ever been together in the same room at all. And I would say if you want to find a person or people, start with one. Don't just think you're going to jump into it, find two people at the same time. If it coincidentally happens, great. But find a foundational relationship first and get that one established. And then the two of you can find who else fits into your relationship that you have, who else connects with both of you.
Yeah, because I always say, even in a poly, you have monogamous relationships.
Mm-hmm. There, it's like a Lego stack. You know, you build onto it, and you see how, and it has to fit a certain way. Maybe more like a Jenga stack, because if you don't fit it together the right way, it's going to fall apart. Mm-hmm. So maybe that's a better analogy, so that everyone kind of fits together for the good of the whole piece. Even if you're not going to all live together, if you're not going to all be together, but you are all connected, and what one does affect the other, regardless. And through your center person, regardless of where you are, everyone is connected.
So do you think that it's overwhelming to deal with so many personalities, and people have their quirks and people have their triggers? Then you got to deal with all types of emotions. It's like, how do you micromanage that?
I never micromanage anything. First of all, you're dealing with grown-ups. So you have to, it is a selection. That's why I say it's good to have a foundational relationship. If you're working well with each relationship, then if you have an issue, you communicate that. And you have to, it's good to select people who either, if you are going to have a kitchen table poly and you're going to have people working, in the same space, then everyone needs to choose each other, so to speak. Because you don't want to have a bunch of people together that don't like each other. That would be horrifying. So I would say that it's best, like I said, to start with the foundational one and then choose people together. That way, that you mesh. And nowadays with technology, and I think they now have Tinder for poly or something like that. I've never met anyone of my partners through internet on purpose. I've just kind of like, oh, this is my relationship here. This is my relationship here. We're all going to work together, and we just, he loves me here, he loves me there. Now we're fine. And then if they have their own other relationships.
And I always say the Mount Rushmore of a relationship is communication, honesty, trust, and respect. That's my Mount Rushmore of having a healthy relationship that's not toxic.
That is an excellent starting team right there. That is a good foundation. You need to put that in a book.
And on that note, this has been another episode of Swingers After Dark, and this is your host, Not Sun Baby. Check out my website at www.notsunblaze.com. That's www.nahsunblaze.com, and check out my ebook, Fuck. Yes, you heard right. Fuck, Fuck. It's on Nook, Kindle, iBooks, Google Play. Go get it. It'll make you say, na 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 na, ow. And shoot me an email at swingpodcast@gmail.com. That's swingpodcast@gmail.com. Hit me up with any questions or concerns that you may have. Rate, share, subscribe, and comment on this podcast. You dig? And on that note, until next time, peace. And don't kiss them hoes in the mouth, baby.